We are back with Lynn Madera. You just heard the title track of her new album, Speed of Sound. Uh, it's a really powerful title track. Tell me about making and maintaining a connection with someone who has, emotional or mental difficulties.
Hmm. Well, in the case of that song, I kind of felt like I had the job of being the sun, as in the sun in the sky, being with somebody who rarely smiled, rarely like truly engaged with the world, didn't really want to be friends with the neighbors. Um, it that was isolating, you know. And on the other side of that, I got a lot of work done, because he was really into what he was doing. He was a product designer, so um, he'd be working on a deadline sometimes for, he'd be up for 24 hours and just kind of be in the back room working on stuff. And he taught me a lot about work ethic, about discipline. So, I mean, every relationship teaches us something. There's always going to be some good that comes out of it, and there's a lot of good that came out of that relationship. Like that's why I say I think of him fondly. I really do. But it's impossible to be in a romantic relationship with somebody who's that close, who's that isolated.
Well, it's impossible for someone who isn't isolated to be in a romantic relationship with someone who is.
Yeah, yeah. I think he and I sort of turned into two islands during that time, and we would be communicating with flashlights or something,
How,
Morse code.
how does it feel to, like change yourself and your environment just for someone else like that?
Well, I right, I don't know. That's a good question. I think women do that a lot. Uh, at the time, I was much younger than he was. Um, I think he was 34 and I was 24 or something like that. So that's a pretty big age difference, especially, you know, for that time. Like that those 2 decades together are very different, or at least they were for me. And so I guess I kind of viewed him as like a teacher, or as like somebody who was more of a guiding hand. So I mean, God, like he taught me a lot about cooking, and he taught me, yeah, I guess there was sort of he was sort of parentified. It's interesting. It's interesting to get into this.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't sound like the ideal relationship.
no, but it had its look. I mean, there were, like I said, a lot of great things that came out of it, and I don't think that I would be who I am or where I am today if I hadn't been in that situation.
The thing that I really take away from this album is that you're willing to describe all the complexion of these situations you or other people are in, but the emotions behind them, the love is just pure. Like it sort of ignores all the complexities that you're throwing up there and exists anyway. And I just, you know, what I wrote down was Joey might be difficult, but it doesn't sound like the decision to love him, at least at the time, was difficult. So, how can you look at such a complex world in such a straightforward
Well,
manner?
I love New York City, right? I mean, and New York City is dirty and full of rats and not always safe. You know, you got to be really careful which street you turn down. And you know, and I love LA despite its reputation for shallow people. And I think I don't know, you know, I've moved around a lot in my life, and maybe I just kind of I can find the good, and I can celebrate the good, while still noticing all of the negative aspects.
Yeah, I feel like that might be the only way you can have real love in this world
I
is
think so.
ignore, or not ignore, but be willing to go past the negatives if there's enough good there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy. Like we I really I agree with you. I think you're right.
I like to end my interviews by having the artist pick a song by any other artist that sort of goes along with the theme of our conversation. So,
I've got it.
okay.
Empty by Ray LaMontagne.
And why does that one work?
Um because he's describing beauty, and also describing the pain that he's feeling uh around that beauty. And it's kind of like, you know, when you look at a color wheel, I don't know if you're into art or any, you know, visual art, but if you look at a color wheel and you see the opposites, like red and green are opposites, and they'll bring each other out on the color wheel. um Black and white will bring each other out. uh I think that kind of goes with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I would say so. I would definitely say that type of exploration would fit on this album.
Can I tell you what my favorite line is
Okay.
in the song? So in the I think it's or gosh, I don't want to say if it's the second or third verse, but he says, I I look my demons in the eyes, lay bare my chest, said, do your best, destroy me. I've been to hell so many times. I've been to hell and back so many times. I must admit, you kind of bore me. I just think
That
it's
is
a
some
brilliant
tough
line.
talk.
He's amazing.
He most certainly is. You're amazing too. This was really an enjoyable album to unpack
Thank you.
because because I tend to not like, these simple, uncomplicated declarations of love, but the fact that you would make them despite the complexities made them suddenly fascinating to me.
Oh, I really appreciate you seeing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jesse Lynn Madera, the new album is Speed of Sound. And the what we're hearing next is Empty by Ray LaMontagne.